needs to meet with the seater. So I did say to her that we would record and then she'll just watch it. Yeah. Hi, Sims. But I'm switching my video off because I just realized now how shit I look.
And I'm just saying, my camera's off, Janine, because I'm sitting here in a vest that's boiling here.
Yeah, as well. Right, there we go.
Okay, so I'm just going to jump into a bit of a show and tell then on P4P today. Mangile, we did a bit of a word dump, information overload on last week. So please feel free to jump in and ask any questions at any time. So I'm just going to share my screen. And what I'm going to show you is it's in a live platform. I'm going to go into my personal kind of space. So it is quite messy, but that's always the fact with technology. So the first thing about P4P is it's built on the learner's ID number. So we don't duplicate IDs. If you add a learner and they already exist in the technology, we pick it up, because that way we can tell you whether learner's already on a learnership, are they on a paid learnership already, have they been re-registered, because there's a lot of problems where the teachers don't talk to each other and your learner gets kind of 3 months in and then, oh, hang on, I'm already on. You know, we've come across what are called professional learners. So professional learners for us are people who are on 5 learnerships in one go. And what they do is they juggle their time just enough so they can't be kicked off, and they're getting paid 5,000 Rand stipends, 3,000 per learnership, and they're earning a fairly good monthly salary, but not doing anything. So yeah, it's quite interesting as we progress. So what will happen is, you kind of, there's five key roles in P4P. We have the role of the learner, and the learner is the person trying to build a portfolio to get assessed, to get the qualification. We have the role of the primary assessor. So the primary assessor is the single person that can sign a learner off. There might be numerous support structures like evidence collectors and secondary assessors and stuff like that in the mix. But P4P only allows for one person to do the sign-off. So that way, if you're doing a panel interview or if you're doing anything along those lines, it helps move away from confusion, because if there's 2 of you and one of you is right and one of you is right, who's the right person? Sorry, I'm just in a park place, so that's the noise behind me. So I hope it's not too loud. Then we have,
you can hear it.
Then we have the role of the administrator, and the administrator is the person that governs the learners. So they decide who goes on, they decide who comes off, they deregister the learner, they track the assessors, assessment dates, times, and all those kind of stuff. The administrator also has, they set up onto P4P at least, the batches or the cohort numbers. And if a learner goes into internal moderation and it gets overturned, the administrator would then decide whether they reactivate the learner or not. So a big thing about P4P is, we are very price sensitive for our clients. So we do not believe in evergreen contracts. So if your end date is the 1st of March, that's your end date. If the internal moderation then takes place in May, there's no extra cost for that. But if the learner gets overturned and needs to be reactivated in June, you have the right to decide whether you're going to allow that, because you'd pick up a June invoice or June for that active learning. Okay, and then we have the role of the internal moderator. They are, they cannot be the assessor. So P4P has a check and balance there. So if you try and add, Sean, who was the assessor, to be the internal moderator, P4P will not allow that. It'll give you an error message. And then the role of the evidence collector. Now, the evidence collector can be anybody and everybody. So you can have your facilitator, your assessor, or you wouldn't need your assessor, but your facilitator, the line manager, the supervisor, the best friend, the auntie, the cousin, the uncle, they can all be evidence collectors, because the evidence collector can only gather evidence and add it into the portfolio folder on behalf of the learner. The assessor can add portfolio, the administrator can add portfolio, the learner can add portfolio. So we've really built we've tried to build a very dynamic structure and very complex, so that the learner is not in any way discriminated against, and they can't turn around and say, I couldn't. You could, and in many ways. So right now, one of our clients, they only came on board in September, although they started their qualification in January. So right now they've got their learners walking in a classroom, and they've taken on our admin support role. So we actually have a payment option where we can actually govern the admin for our clients. And our administrator, what the learners are now doing is the facilitators, they're saying, all right, access Paddy on your phones, take a photograph of page 1, take a photograph of page 2, take a photograph of page 3, take a photograph of, and 30 photographs are being sent to the Paddy who's on their project, and he is converting that into PDF and putting it onto P4P for the client. So there's many options, many ways that we can skin this fish. Some of our other clients, they're a little bit more technologically astute, so they get the learners to use DocScan. If they've done handwritten stuff, they use DocScan app to convert, their pages. And some people just do this stuff on Word and Excel and then convert that to a PDF and load it. Many ways. Okay, so I'm logging in. Welcome to my page. Welcome, Darren. We're excited to see you here in your Assessor homepage. So I'm in my Assessor homepage. Again, I'm not an assessor. This is a demo of stuff, so I'm not an assessor, but I've been assessing for 22 years, so I kind of get a bit of an understanding of the pain, which is why I created P4P. Okay, so in my page, at the top of my page, I have a home button. I have what's called a backpack. So in here, I can access any portfolio of evidence. I can access any declarations that were signed. I have my personal portfolio. We're changing this word personal portfolio to lifelong backpack, because in here I store my assessor CV, ID, previous qualifications as assessor, my CETA registrations, my CETA documents, all that, because all the programs align up. So when we add your program to P4P, that program will be aligned to a CETA. When you add an assessor, P4P is looking if that assessor has a services CETA registration number. If it doesn't, it flags it to you going, look, this this assessor hasn't got a services CETA reg number, or at least one that's active. So I might have one, but my expiry date was the 1st of January 2022. P4P flags it for you as well, so you don't get any surprises when it comes to verification. Because when we did some work with BP, we had a very interesting scenario where the assessor's license expired 2 months before the end of assessment. 48 learners' portfolios, the verifier walked in and simply said, oh, sorry, this assessor's license expired, redo all the portfolios. I can't accept it. Because clearly when the assessor license expires, they forget everything about assessment and they don't know what to do. So anyway, that's what that's about. And then we have this training progress. It's not something we use much at the moment. We're still learning kind of more about it, but in essence, the training progress is when you give us your module and tell us how many training days are linked to the module. And then your facilitator or your assessor administrator can log in to P4P and go, they arrived on day 1, they arrived on day 2, they arrived on day 3, they arrived on day 4. It's not again, we're working on it. There's still a few bugs in the process, but if it's something that's very, very important to you, we'll focus on it quite quickly and we'll get it up and running. Okay. Then we have our reports. So we've only got 3 key reports. There's a module completion report. I'll show you in a moment. This Facet CETA learner report, it's actually just a database of all the learners on a batch. We built it for Facet because that was one of our first CETAs on board. And we found it kind of works across all the CETAs. So when our clients want to load their learners into the CETA database, they can just download everything with P4P. They don't have to go to the Excel documents, and all the details are there that should be there that you can then access. You can access it as a CSV folder, or you can access it as a normal Excel, so you can directly load it into the CETA databases. We are not there, but we are talking to CETA about integrations, but that's not happening for a while. So that's what you pull there. And on this one, there's assessor batch report. You can pull a report per assessor, per batch of learners, per module. How far is the assessment done? What's, where we've got to. I'll show you in a few moments. Okay. And then because of my roles, I can add learners. Most assessors won't have this unless they have an admin role as well. But that's kind of adding learners, adding more assessors and moderators, assigning learners, programs, internal moderations. So it's all just, the system is it's literally a process system. It goes from A to B to C to D. Then I've got my name at the top here. I can sign out. And over here, I have a drop down. And this is all my roles across all my clients, across all my different opportunities. So this is me as an assessor. This is me as a learner. This is me as an administrator. Now, I can see this because this is me. However, if we're talking about the One Client View Academy, you as my client, when you're my client, wouldn't be able to see that I assess for your academy. Only your academy can see who their assessors are. Only you can see who your assessors are. It's all segregated in that way because of copy, but because I am me, I can see who I'm working for. So as an assessor, I can be assessing for 4 or 5 different clients. I could be an administrator for 4 or 5 different clients. I could be a learner on one, an assessor on one, an administrator, an internal moderator. P4P is built for all of that, but you govern who you add for your company with your contracts. P4P is not a middleman. We simply go, here are the assessors, you contract with them, and then, we just build for the active learner. Right, so that's it in a nutshell in terms of the homepage. Here's an example of a qualification. So we have a qualification for the National Certificate in Contact Center support. I only, as an assessor, I've only got one learner assigned to me. That's the learners. This is what I can see as an assessor. So I could actually, if I, for example, change this role of an assessor to a different assessor role. So let's go to my assessor in e-proficiency. There's a list of all my learners that I am responsible for assessing. And what we see is the learner's name, email, contact number. So this declaration signed is the pre-assessment meeting. If the learner signs it digitally, it creates itself digitally into the POE folder. So I'll show you in a moment an example. So I can see that the learner in green, the learner signed it themselves. In orange, it means as the assessor, I've got the hard copy. So the learner didn't sign this in P4P. They signed it on a piece of paper. I've got the piece of paper as assessor, so it's an orange yes, which just notifies the internal moderator, and then P4P will only let me close the learner up if I add the hard copy POE to the POE folder, the hard copy document. Okay, I then got my POE documents. If I click on this, it opens the document in another page. Okay, I'll dive into more of that and show you that now in a moment. And then we've got the percentage progress. So this only changes when the assessor assesses the learner. And these are all 100% and 0% of the learners. So this is what the administrator can track. They can track per batch, per learner, that because it's a qualification, the learner should be at 36%. Why is this guy at 2% and this guy at 5% and this guy at 20%? And they can start getting some really good information that they can start analyzing. Then we have what's called a program summary. This is the final report that the assessor writes about the learner at the end of the qualification. However, if they've been doing work through the year, this report's quite a short report. It's just a final kind of wrap up and everything gets combined. And I'll show you the module reports in a moment. This little icon means you can create this report at any time that you want to. And I'll go to a client that has more information so you can see it. And then the green badge tells us, is this learner found competent? The orange badge says that this learner ran out of time. So if, as a company, we want Anthony Bruno contact us and say, no, I want my green badge, we say to Anthony, look, you've run out of time. So it's going to cost you a little bit extra because we have to pay for P4P and we have to pay for another assessor, we have to pay for stuff. So if you're willing to pay for it, we'll reopen the assessment for you. These 2 learners are still active. Green, that learner is found not competent. So they were found to be not competent for whatever reason, they got a red badge. So that's how you can track it per assessor, and then you can kind of see what's going on, all in relation to this one program. So you won't see this learner on a different program unless they are, on the program and assigned to me as the assessor. Okay. So in kind of so far, I'm just going to, I haven't seen anyone put their hand up and I haven't seen any questions. So I assume it kind of all makes sense. Assumption being the mother of all mistakes. It's just.
I do have one question about
Sure,
assessors. Like, for example, if I'm an assessor, I can't assess someone else on another qualification.
No, you absolutely can. But but the learner has to be added to the qualification. So for example, Desiree on that the qualification I just showed you, we had a lady called Desiree. As an assessor, if the administrator of this qualification added Desiree to me on this qualification, I would see Desiree here, and I would also see her on the other qualification. I would see her on both as an assessor.
No. I'm confusing. I'm confusing the issue. It was if you an assessor, you can't moderate. Now,
Correct.
my question was, would that also be IP address restricted so that we don't have to go and check, that assessor will know, or that moderator will know that, okay, I can't moderate these files.
Well, it's actually ID number, not even IP address, it's ID number restricted.
Oh,
So because we've got the ID number in, we know that Darren is the assessor for this program. So we've got Darren's ID number. If the administrator tried to assign Darren as the internal moderator, it wouldn't allow me, because my ID number would match that I'm as the assessor for this learner, and it wouldn't allow me to moderate it.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Okay, so let's unpack this learner a little bit so we can play. So what we have here, Paddy Munn, he has not signed his declaration yet, so I would not be able to assess yet, but I will override that. Okay. Now, this program has these 9 modules: Contact Center 101, communication skills, customer interaction, get recovery. So these are the modules that generally 3 or 4 days of training with a portfolio is linked to it. So what happens is, as the learner, that these are the credits assigned to each module for 2029 from the summative, start date, end date. And what we see here is this module summary. So this is the final assessor report that the assessor writes about the learner and how they achieved in module 1. Okay, this report here is the summary report that you can then submit to the CETA. So if the learner's been found competent, not competent, not competent, overall in the program, they'll have a program of not competent because they're not being assessed again. But for the 3 modules that they were found competent, you simply generate this report and you can add those learners to the CETA database, and they can get the credits for what they've achieved, because we track the 20 credits and we track the statement of achievement. So it gives you really nice flexibility and an incredible sales pipeline, because you can come back to P4P on a quarterly or biannual basis and go, oh, let's look, or even annually, let's look at all the learners who are found not competent on the qualification. Oh, this learner just didn't get working with data. That learner just didn't get recovery. So you can approach them and say, look, it's a reduced fee, but why don't you just do the e-learning, the update, the coaching, and get the full qual? So in that case, you'll just reopen the learner on P4P, just tick the box that they need, and you're good to go again. So it makes it a really, really nice kind of marketing, follow-up tool, business tool for you as well. Now, in P4P, we have these little arrows. So when you click an arrow, it opens and closes stuff. If I click contact, let's go to communication skills. What we see here, now, this is the way that this client in particular designed this program. This is how they did it. Every client does it differently. So we create a context around the way that you design your programs. So here we see there's a formative assessment guide and there's a summative assessment guide. And for both of these, they are both credit bearing. So this client has made both of these guides credit bearing, and they've assigned 2 credits to the formative and 18 credits to the summative, with a 20 credit overall value. They've also got assessment judgment. So this is also your declaration of achievement, or could be many other names. I'll show you in a moment. And then they've got a post-course discussion for the learner. So they want the learner to complete this after every module. Because there's the assessment judgment again for the standards. There's the learner achievement. And right at the end of the qualification, they have a post-assessment engagement where the declaration results are completed by the assessor and the final post-assessment rating by the learner is completed. So all of these have to be completed before you can actually close the program. Some of the assessors, like I explained, try to cut corners. They can't do that anymore. Okay, so one portfolio of evidence folder for the entire program. Okay. Now, I'm just going to override Paddy here for now, because otherwise we can't log in. So if I take communication skills and I go to formative assessment 1, this is what the assessment checklist looks like. So this is what your assessors would use to assess the learners, rather than your current assessment guides that go digital. So we can see that this is a POE workbook exercise, pages 3 to 26. And we can see that this formative assessment is linked to unit standard 119467 SO1AC1. It's in the POE guide on page 4. And this was the question that the learner has to answer. And we can see that for the next one. This is questions 2, 3, 4, and 5. Those are the unit standard alignments. Those are the questions you need to answer. And then basically what happens is your description of your formative will go up here. We can see it's this learner on communication skills, on the formative assessment. We started the assessment on this date. This is the 4-scale rating that we refer to. We find it works better than C and NYC at this point, because it gives the assessor opportunity to over-endorse a learner. So the 3 is the 100%, but you get your overperformers, and those are the guys you want to earmark for kind of exciting things. Level 2 is kind of your 70 to 99%, and level 1 is, oh my God, we're even on the training. So what happens is we have the sections, what are called sections, and I'll show you a breakdown of a different scenario in a moment. And then we have the credit value, and then we have the completion value of the section. And here we have an L column. So if my learner had rated themselves, I would see a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4 in here. So they can do self-assessment, I would subtract. And QCTO is really pushing hard for self-assessments. I think good luck to them, but they are pushing for it. So now the learner can just do it on their phone. And this is the mentor manager third-party assessor rating.
Okay.
Neither of these ratings are of value towards competence. They're only of value to assist the assessor. Okay, so I'm now in my assessor role. I come here down here and I see that, okay, this learner has not rated themselves, and the mentor or manager has not rated them. Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll assess them myself. That's fine. I will now go to my POE folder. So if I click here, I'm going to open it as an example. I come to my POE folder, but there's no evidence in this POE folder. So I'm going, okay, well, the learner's given no evidence, so I'll go back here and I'll now rate this learner a 1. On today's date, the 14th, I'll go, no evidence provided. Remedial work, please complete and load your evidence before the 21st of February, 2022. Okay, so I do that. So I just check my spelling because I need for February 2022. Okay, so I could either just leave that there, or I could just copy my comments in this case, and I can just rate this learner 1 for everything. So it doesn't matter. I get to choose, right? Okay. Instead of closing the learner as not competent, I'm saving it as not yet competent. So I do the save. So I'll just show you here what happens. Okay, so now it's been saved. Now what's happened is 2 things. I'll go to the email address. So you can see here, hi Paddy, that's my learner. Your assessment, just save changes to your formative assessment guide. There's the rating. So my learner does not even need to log back into P4P to see what they've got to do to fix. So, because that's all that I've assessed. Okay, date stamp, time stamp. Now, when I go to the POE folder of my learner, if I do a refresh, what we have here is at the bottom, we have a full communication engagement table. So every email that goes out gets tabulated in the POE folder, like right here. So if you look here, there's an email that went to Paddy. Paddy's email address is this. So if this address is wrong, we know it. The subject was assessment conducted. It was sent on the 14th of the 2nd, 2021 at 12:24, and that's the name. Now, if I click here as the moderator, internal moderator, external verifier, as the administration, I can actually see the physical email that went to the learner. You do not need to track this in an, oh, it got lost, it's in a junk folder, I couldn't find this, I couldn't find that. It sits here in P4P. So if your learner turns around and goes, I can't find my junk folder, not a problem, log into P4P, go to your POE folder, find your name, click next to it, there's the email. So
That's amazing.
Everything is tracked. If the learner does anything, that gets tracked as well. So and I'll show you a more busy one in a moment, but that's pretty much how the platform works as a whole. You know, I mean, that's what we're tracking. So if I sign out here and I go to all the clients, so I'm going to log in here as an administrator. I think this was before we launched that. Here's a list of learners, but if I go to here as example, here's a learner called John Michael Wardle. Now, this is an administrative. So as we can see, this learner, 100% competent, but not closed. So Lindelwa, who is the assessor for this learner, hasn't closed this learner. I don't know why. This learner has gone through internal moderation. It was upheld, and for some reason, the other administrator opened it up again. Because as you can see here, it's not closed. But we can see that both her modules are closed. So there's a bartender short program, there's a post-system engagement, there's all the checklists, and we can see that she's scored 100% in everything, but it's not closed here. So this would be something to analyze, to go and figure things out. Okay. Now, if I go to John Michael Wardle's portfolio folder, okay, so remember, I'm now the administrator. I can see that John Michael Warden has 8 items of evidence in this particular folder, right? And this was with our communication, this was launched after this client. So because this was a 2018 client. That's why there's nothing here, okay? Now, what I can see in the POE folder is Lindelwa, who was the assessor, loaded this evidence. The way I can tell it is because this evidence is in green. We can also see that Darren, who was the administrator, loaded this and it's been opened by Lindelwa. So because it's gone blue. So if this had not been opened, this would also be green. And they would say to Lindelwa, how did you know that there was a CV if you didn't open it? So it becomes those kind of questions. Okay, and this is what we're tracking. So just so you know, in the next 3 months, there's a really nice new feature coming where there's going to be a purple tick, a green tick, and another color tick. Depends on who opened the evidence. So you'll actually have to see kind of based on the colors that they tick the different portfolios, who's accessed it. Was it the internal moderator? Was it the administrator? Was it the verifier? But that will come next month. I'm quite excited about that. Now,
so we're actually not just checking the learner's activity. We also now checking that the assessors are doing what they are meant to be doing.
Exactly. And because they're the ones who hide, those cheeky buggers run and hide. Sorry, not in your world, but in my world, in my other clients' world. So, okay. So now if I click this one, so I'm going to open up, this is an example of some evidence that this learner added. I mean, you don't get better evidence than this. The problem with this evidence was we couldn't hear his vocal. We couldn't hear what he was saying. So the assessor turned around and said, look, I can't hear what you're saying. Please do something different. Right? This is the written exam of John Michael. So I'm just going to open it. So I'm just going to download. Okay. Oh, there was nothing in there. That's probably why they failed him, because he hasn't got any answers here. So let's go find a different program. Let's go to, what is this? Home. Let's go to private table service. quite like John Michael because he's got some cool stuff. So if you look here, so this is one of the other skills programs that he did, where there's 46 items of evidence, where the other one he had 8. So if we just skip around like this, we can go and see, let's have a look. So there's his written exam.
Okay.
And written. And this was converted by a photograph on his phone that he was using a doc scanner. So he was in the training venue, didn't have access to a scanner. He finished writing, he took a photograph, and here it is. That's the handwritten evidence. So yes, he didn't sign it, and yes, because that's what the assessor missed. And again, we don't check the governance, we permit the we show you the governance. So those are the kind of things you're looking for. You look for it already anyway. It's not like it's, oh my gosh, it's the first time I've never seen it, right? This is a picture of him in his uniforms. This is a photograph piece of evidence. Does he have a name badge? Are his shoes shone? Let's get a closer look. And this was taken off his falling apart Samsung, no, Huawei phone. Okay, he's got good shoes, wearing his pants, they look a bit ironed. Great, that's his name badge. Is it his name badge? So we might go a bit unclear. John Michael, please can you make your name badge a little bit more, again, the assessor gets to decide what's right and what's not. But this is all captured here in his portfolio folder. And now the learner, the assessor, the administrator, the internal moderator, the verifiers have access to this for 5 years after verification. So after the issue of the certificates, they have access to another 5 years of this. Okay, so it's a nice time frame that you're getting access to. I'm just going to show you a report, some of the reporting scenarios. So these reports that I'm going to show you now, they are generated on a weekly basis for all of our clients, because we can't generate them ourselves in P4P yet. We're currently testing that they work, right? So this is the one report that's generated on a weekly basis. So what this report shows is, for this week, for cohort 1, 10th of February, there are 9 modules, and this is for module 1, 25 learners have loaded evidence into their POE folder, 3 haven't. 18 learners have loaded evidence into their POE folder, 10 haven't. So you add a snapshot on a weekly basis, we can see if learners are adding evidence into their POE folders or not, and how many have added. So when you come to here, you can see this client has 8 cohorts of learners. You get a snapshot of, okay, cohort 1 has 28 learners. Of the 28, 75% of them have loaded a CV. 79% have loaded an ID. None of them have loaded any attendance declarations. So this is the snapshot you get on a weekly basis. CV, ID, attendance registers, enrollment forms, previous qualifications, for the number of learners that are active, and then you can dive into each cohort. So now you can see the cohort name, the name of the learner, you can see the ID number, the cohort number, and for this learner, you can start seeing what's going on. They have 1 item there, they have no items here. Some of them have 36 items and 42 items. This learner has 2 items in the teamwork, safety, summative. So this report, I mean, my client is really, really, really enjoying this, because what they've been able to show over the months is before P4P. So when we started with P4P, I mean, they had this kind of a, look at all that red, no portfolios added. We can't find the portfolios. They're sitting in rooms. Now, here, this is what happened. So the people are taken to task on the 12th of February. No, last week, 10th of February. So in 4 days, we've just seen this little bit of growth, and these learners are now in the classroom today loading their portfolios. Because what my client did was they went to their client and said, look, cohort 5 over here, we have them in the classroom. We do face-to-face, we do online Zoom. These learners, you try to do on e-learning by themselves. Look at the difference in the graphs. So the client's now going, okay, we can see the value of having the learners on a face-to-face Zoom meeting once every 2 weeks, because that's what this demonstrates. Okay, so that's the one report that you get on a weekly basis. The second report you get on a weekly basis looks like this. You won't get this report. The assessor will get this report on a weekly basis. So the assessor name, the last date that they assessed in P4P, these are all the modules that they are assessing, with the number of learners per module, how many learners have signed the declaration, what percentage of learners have signed the declaration, and the percentage of assessment completed. Your assessors get this on a weekly basis, so they can never turn around and say, I didn't know how far down the road I was. Then we pull this report from P4P. So you can pull this report every day if you want to. So it shows you the assessor name, the assessor reg number, the assessor ID number, the date the report was built, which qualification is linked to. And here you can see that they have a total of 65 learners, 65 declarations signed. So, and now we can start seeing who the learners are, who's been moderated, gender, equity, what cohort they're in. So if you just want to source cohort 5 for this particular assessor, you just click on here, and then you can see just the cohort 5, or no, show me what's going on for cohort 3A, group A, and you'll see a change. So you get all of that. And at the bottom of here, you get a graph. So that's a snapshot of all the learners that this assessor is assessing on this qualification and where they are in the assessment. So why is this learner at 100% and that learner at 75% and the learner at 62? Why are these learners not being assessed? What's going on in their world? You get to figure that out. And at the bottom of the report, you get the unit standards that particular module is linked to. So these are all unit standards for this. So this is a short course. So you've got Content Center 101. That's the name of the short course. It's a 4 and 3, level 3, but it's this training course, it's that training course, it's this training course, and it's that training course. So they've coupled those 4 short courses or skills programs into a short course. And that kind of you see every week. So this is a report that your assessors get on a weekly basis. This is the one report that's the evidence collects chart that you get on a weekly basis. And then the other report that you get on a weekly basis looks like this. Okay, so this is a snapshot of all your assessors on all your programs, the number of learners each assessor is assigned to assess. So this assessor is assigned to 370 learners. This assessor is assigned to 723 learners. Now, I don't know how one assessor could assess 723 learners. That's not my problem. I just show my client the stats. This assessor only assesses this program. The assessors don't. And here you can see how many learners are on a program. And then we scroll down. What we show you is the assessment percentage of achievement per assessor and the last dates that they assessed this program. So you've got some really good information going on here, going, why did the assessor only assess last time on the 30th of the 6th, 2021? What the hell? Why did you assess so late? Also in this report, if this percentage changes on a week-by-week basis, we make it green. It turns green for you. So you can see that there's been a growth in the assessment for this learner. Okay, so that's some of the reporting that you get. Okay.
I think, yeah. Sorry, Darren.
Yes.
What I'm picking up is that there's so much more accountability when you, like, across learners, assessors, moderators, and that's the thing that's impressing me the most, is that you get data that is organized well, and you can analyze the information as much as possible to take. I'm just blown away.
It's amazing.
So now let me really blow you. That's all easy stuff. So now let me really try and impress you. So, okay. So here is a learner with a different client. Okay. And we can see this learner has achieved 3 of the 8 credits on produce a business plan for new venture. If I click here, so I want to show you this is what a module report looks like. Now, this is at learner level. Okay, so it's an assessor module report for this learner. All right, it was drawn today. And here we can see the learner details. Our client hasn't named the company that this learner is doing their workplace integrated learning from. But if they had named it, the company would be there. So we can draw company-specific reports as well. Here we can see who the assessor is. So we can see the assessor, ID. So you don't have to sign every page. We can see that this is just a single unit standard because it's not linked to a qualification. And now we see this learner is on a program, and this program has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 modules. So we can see that this learner is not yet competent for the whole program. We can also see that this learner is not yet competent on this module because they've only achieved 38%, which is 3 credits. So now we scroll down, we go, okay, there are 8 attendance of declaration items in the POE folder. There's 2 CVs, 2 enrollment forms, 1 ID, and 1 previous qualification. And this learner hasn't achieved the company certificate of achievement or you attended training in the POE folder for this program. We can see this program had 2 checklists. It had a point of formative assessment and a summative. This is the comment that the learner that the assessor made here in the module summary. This is the comment the assessor made about the learner on this date. You have attempted this portfolio, but unfortunately large sections are not clear. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, the program comment, which is the comment that's made at this level, which is a combination of all of these, the assessor hasn't made a comment there yet and doesn't need to. Now we scroll down, we go, here are the checklists. So there's the formative checklist, and there's the summative. So if I come back here, there's the formative, and there's the summative, 42%, 38%. I come back here, 38%. So you can start seeing what the performance gap of this learner is. Now, I scroll down. The first checklist I see is the formative checklist. There are all the outcomes for the formative checklist, and we can see that the learner nailed class activity 1, but what the hell, class activity 2, 3, 4. But now we can see there's a huge problem going on with this learner individually over here. If we scroll down, here is every comment on every date that the assessor made about this learner. Everything is captured in this report. Every date, every comment that your response does not answer the question. Okay, but that's not a very good comment. The assessor needs to give more feedback, but that gets captured. If the learner does a self-assessment comment, every comment and every date is captured in this report. Everything that you need. Here's the summative view, 20, 25, 100, 100. Every comment is captured again and date stamped. So this report is that much detail. Your assessors don't write this. That's what I'm saying. When your assessor sounds was competent, this report is automatically generated. Your assessors don't have to write the end of the report. Now, if we go to this learner, Twaita, so I'd rather go to this learner here, because this learner, Klingiwe, is competent. There's the green badge. If I click on instead of clicking on the module summary, if I click on the program, the whole program, I get a different looking report. This report that you see here gets automatically put in the POE folder of the learner when the assessor signs off. Done deal. So let me show you this report. So on this report, again, we have the learner details. We have the assessor details. If the learner is moderated, you'll see the moderated details here as well. Here we see the 5 unit standards for this qualification. Again, it's not linked to a full qual. That's why there's nothing here. And if it was, they'd be there. Now we scroll down, we go, okay, they are the moderate, so start date here, end date here. This learner ended on this date. Assessment status, competent. Moderation status, not yet internally moderated. Credits, 26, achieved, 100%. Here we see the same thing for this learner, and here's a more complete graph. So the formative assessment here is 71%. This client didn't make their formative assessments credit bearing, so you go, doesn't matter to me. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. You decide that. Okay. Now, as you scroll down, this learner didn't do a post-assessment review themselves, but what we see is for each module, achieved credits, date, competence, who the assessor was, and here are those module reviews. So when we go back to here, these module summaries are captured over here in this report. Here are the POE items, and this is 71% complete, this is 100% complete with 5 POE items, 7 POE items, and this was completed on this date, and that was completed on that date. So this is the report that I have yet to find the internal moderator go, oh my God, this is not amazing. I don't need any of the other reports that I ever get anymore, because this ticks all of our boxes. Now, what we do when we onboard a new client, we'll say to you, please give us a template of your current assessor report. Give it to us. And we do an analysis for you against our report, against your current report. And we see if there's anything missing in ours that you have in yours, because it's a very strong possibility that could be the case. We then present you the findings. Go, look, you know, you in your report, you have assessor, moderator, learner. We have learner, assessor, moderator. Is that okay for you? Most clients go, yeah, because, you know, we don't really want to start messing things around as long as we tick all your boxes. You know, you might go, but Darren, we don't see this certain thing that's in our report. What I then do is I take that to all the other assessors and all the other companies and go, look, you're thinking about building this in. How necessary is it? How important is it? So that we don't have to build you to build it specifically for you. Unless it's something that, you know, cutting it that for you makes you different to all your other clients. You know, then we'll build it in for you. Because, you know, we're definitely not saying that we have, you know, we've nailed everything. We're learning, we're growing. As people use the system, they're learning, they're growing, you know, so. But anyway, so that report comes directly from the system, you know, and as the administrator, you can pull the report, any of these reports as many times you want to, as often as you want to, whenever you want to. You can ask us for anything, whenever, and here you can start track, and you just track what's going on. So if you click on this little green button, it tells you congratulations, learner was upheld. That's the moderator response. And if I click on this, this is also automatically generated. So this is what we call a statement of achievement. So this shows you that it happens after internal moderation. This is what you're doing. We're 26 credits. There's the stuff. There are the modules. There's the percentage achieved. This is who the assessor was. This is the unit standard code that they achieved. This is what the title was, the credit to level. And Isel hasn't put in her moderator numbers yet. But this report automatically is generated after internal moderated for all the learners who are upheld and automatically put in the POE folder. So what you now have, for the internal moderator, they still have to use their current internal moderation form. We have not built that digitally. So they would still use their Word documents or whatever they're using, and they still have to email that to you for now. But what happens is the learners who have to go for external verification, in their POE folder is all their portfolios of evidence, version 1, version 2, version 3 are for the assessor stuff. CD, ID, previous qualifications, enrollment forms, and any other stuff that's required. The assessor report, the statement of results, it all sits in the learner's POE, and all the communication that took place from end to end sits in the POE folder of the learner. If the learner now has to go for internal verification, the verifier simply logs on and they have access to pretty much your admin page. Your external verifier has access to this page with the 20 learners that they need to see, and they can see every assessment that took place. Every, you know, they can go into, if they don't want to use the report, they can come here. So if you look here, the assessor rated the learner 3 on the 17th and 2nd. If I scroll over the learner said activities completed on the 29th of the 1st. So I can see the learner's comments that they made about themselves. I can see the assessor's comments that they made about themselves, all date stamped, all there, all ready to go. And this is what the verifiers get access to. That's why you don't need to retransfer them anything, because they have the full POE folder, they have the full assessment checklist folder, they have the state, they have everything. If your learner now wants to go to the QCTO route and go do an external integrated summary assessment, this form, this statement of achievement is the in. This is what they need in order to have that right. So they would download this, they would take it to the external assessment center and go, here's my statement of results, I'm more competent. They'll go, wow, that's great, let's do your ASA.
Awesome.
Okay. And the last thing that I can show you, and then we can ask a few questions, is this on the home button. I just want to show you what a declaration looks like. So this also automatically goes into the learner's POE folder. This is a declaration of authenticity for new venture creation by Bonasiwe with her ID number, and she signed it on the 11th of the 11th, 2020 at 1:03 p.m. I declare that my details are correct. I was welcome and made to feel at ease. Learner Guide Workbook, page 7. The purpose of the objectives of meeting were explained to me. The assessor okay, I mean, this is something that you probably, well, you definitely have. You might have it worded differently. And now instead of your learners ticking this in a book, they log on to P4P, they tick it in P4P, and it gets automatically generated, date stamp, time stamp in the POE folder for the learner for you, so that you don't have to worry about things. If you still want the learner to sign this, they can download it out of the POE folder as a PDF. They can put their digital signature on and they can upload it again. You can help them do that. Okay, that is P4P in 41 minutes.
Yeah, no, I'm totally impressed. Sims, I don't know if you have any question. I'm just blown away because from my perspective, look, like at the moment, we're sitting with an issue where there's unit standards that have expired and all that. So I'm assuming that updating with the new information would also be easier. I'm looking from the product department now. I think Lindsay is the best person to talk about how it would work operationally, etc. And Sims and I we're looking at things from the perspective of the product department. And I'm just blown away at once we've done our portion of the job, which is getting the stuff to you to load onto the platform, then everything else is managed by operations.
Yeah.
And, you know, and we would only come back in if we need to, like, as I say, with the expired unit standards, update that information, send it to you, or
100%. 100%.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So what you do is you send it to us. We would make the current program the version 1. We'd make the new program with the new standards version 2, and would finish the learners on version 1 off on version 1, and the new learners get added with the add to version 2, and then you take that program. Once all the learners are off the old unit standard program, that would then be archived off of P4P, but all the details, learners, results, everything remains accessible.
Okay. And your storage now, how does that work?
So we can store, it's up to like 2 gigs of data per module per learner.
Okay.
So we're just busy exploring some video stuff. So we've got some clients who are doing a lot of video work. So we're busy building a compression technology to compress the videos without losing the value. But that all sits on P4P. It all sits there in P4P, on P4P for 5 years, accessible to you, the learners, and everyone. And when we bill you, we only bill you for the active learner. So the active learner is a learner who's on a program within a start and an end date. So if your learner is on a skills program for 3 months, 1st of January to the 31st of March, they're active for those 3 months, we bill you for those 3 months. The learner gets signed off in March, thanks for coming, all done. The verification, the moderation takes place in September. You don't get billed for that because the learner is no longer active. They can no longer upload and download, they can only download. The verification takes place in December. You don't get billed for that because the learner is no longer active. And then once that happens for 5 years, we store that data at no extra cost for 5 years because the learner is no longer active, but they can access P4P to download their portfolios because we've got recruitment agents talking to us going, but Darren, learners arrive with us with a CV, but with you, we've got a portfolio of evidence. So we can go to our clients and say, listen, why are you wasting your time on CVs? Let me show you what this person can do. And the assessor was Sean. The client goes, oh, I know Sean. God, that guy's standards are so high. Wow. And the recruitment guys are getting excited because they can now take not a video of me telling you how good I am, they can actually take my learning progress and show the client. So that's how it works. But only when you make the learner active and an end date will we bill you, and we warn you about it before you do it. So you don't just do it by mistake. You've cognitively had to make a decision to do the work, to activate the learner.
Okay. Yeah, Simangile, do you have any questions? Oh, I think
I like to think she's fallen off her chair in amazement.
she probably has fallen off the chair in amazement.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I'm not that involved in terms of the ops and all of that. And unfortunately, Lindsay couldn't make today, but I know that she will have a look. But Darren, I mean, it looks absolutely amazing. And in terms of us embracing technology and, you know, all of that going to the future makes sense. Like I said to you, we do have our strat session for, you know, next week. Is there any kind of way you could give us some kind of pricing? What do you need from us? Because we need to be able to go to Nita and say, this is what we believe we need to do. This is what the investment would be.
So let me show you the pricing and then I'll send it to you in an email. Okay, so cool. There's two pricing scenarios. The first one is the onboarding. So that's to get your program from where it is onto P4P. Okay, so we charge 2,200 Rand once off per module. Okay.
Per module.
Per module.
Okay.
Now, your modules might have a clustering of 5 unit standards. They might have 1 unit standard. Okay, if your modules are all single unit standards, then we look at a different pricing for you because I can't see the value of 17 modules because there's 17 single unit standards. It kind of puts it right out. But okay, so once off. Now this client, for example, they paid their in this case it was 10 grand for those 5, and each module was created as a standalone. So we create module 1 as a produced business plan standalone that you can run as a skills program. And then what we do is once we've got the 5, which is the 10 grand, or just 11 grand, because it's 5 times, then what we do is we create a program for you where we combine all 5 modules into a single program, and that's also 2. Okay, so this whole thing here cost them 13,200 Rand once off.
Okay.
What that means is we say to Sean, give us your assessment criteria, give us your stuff, we convert it, we put it into Excel, we give it back to Sean likes it, signs it off, makes changes, we make changes, we get it onto P4P, it goes live, and we then start upskilling your assessors and your moderators and help you with onboarding your learners and work with your facilitators on how to convert to digital, because they all have to be worked with. We do not for a second assume just because we have a technology that everyone knows how to use it. So we work closely. Okay, that's the setup cost.
Okay.
Right. Then the only other cost you're going to pick up, which is worst case scenario, is a per active learner per month cost. So each learner will cost you 180 Rand per month that they are active. Right?
Okay.
Now you have a choice. That if you run a learnership over a year for 12 months, that's 2,240 Rand. But you can pay for the year in advance, which comes at 1,900 Rand. It's a 20% discount. It's kind of 2 months off. But then if the learner drops off at month 6, you've taken that risk. However, if you choose to pay month by month and the learner drops off at month 6, we no longer bill you for them. You just deregister them and we no longer bill you for them. So we only bill you when the learners are active. Now, what happens is we do not bill you for your assessors. You can have as many as you want, assigned to as many programs as you want. We don't bill you for your moderators, as many as you want, as many programs as you want. We don't bill you for your administrators, as many as you want, as many programs as you want. And you also get our call center included in the 180 that will access active, or that will get all your learners. We'll use WhatsApp as the base platform on a weekly basis, every week, to go, hi, Janine. Just want to check in. How are you doing? Your portfolio should be going good. Are you struggling on P4P? Can we help you out? Do you need a longer call? Do we need to take it offline? And every learner is contacted once a week by our call center. It's actually your call center. So, hey, learner, getting hold of you, from our client's call center. How are you doing? Because we don't need to have our names in lights. We need your names to be in lights. Because when your name is in lights, you get better clients, more clients. You grow your business. And the more you grow your business, the better for us. So that call
Yeah.
centers, the call centers included, those weekly reports are included in the 180 per learner per month. And then of course all the communication and stuff obviously happens. That's the pricing. We don't bill you for internal moderator, we don't bill you for external verifier, and that 180 Rand per month includes the 5 years of storage of information.
Okay. Sean, have you got that?
Yeah, I heard.
But you're going to send me a mail, hey?
I am absolutely going to say, and what I'm also going to do is
I'm so stuck on how awesome the thing is. You know, like I've been thinking about money right now. I'm just thinking, oh gosh, you know, so much stuff is going to be like. Just to let you guys know, Sims is struggling with the audio. That's why she couldn't ask the question. And the question she wanted to ask was about the training material being uploaded. But I've explained to her that you've indicated to us that you only focus on the POE and the activity book and the assessments and moderation. So we would obviously still be using something like our My Saito to deploy.
Absolutely. And we'll bring the platforms close together, 100%. Stay with what you know. Janine, what I'm going to do is, when I send you the email now, I'm also going to send you a link to our conference we're doing on the 17th of March. You can invite your team. I'll give you guys 10 or 15 tickets. You guys will plan a chatbot. And we did research last year. You can still take part in the research if you want to, on the cost, on the actual costs of the assessment of learning process. So what is communication cost, the POE's cost, the assessor's cost? We've got some incredible findings from the guys that did the work last year. The 17th of March, we're actually doing an online conference. We've got our competitors from the UK and Australia coming to give their perspective into that as well.
Great.
And we're talking about the 5 different areas. So the email I send you, I'll add the quotes, but I'll also add in option 1, you can physically do the research. It's about half an hour of research. It's quite a lot.
Okay.
Because we dive into how much do you pay your assessors, because we've asked everyone, how much do you pay assessors?
Yes.
How much do you pay your moderators? How long does it take? You know, if you do this, then that. And so it's very detailed research, but you can choose to do it or not. But we'll definitely give you and your company probably 15 seats. So you can invite other clients, you can invite other people if you want to, your team. And it's Thursday the 17th from 9 until 11 in the morning.
Fabulous. I'm going to put it in my diary now. No, it sounds great.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Darren. I mean, absolutely amazing. I can't wait for Tony, I can't wait for like a Rebecca. I can't wait for like a Rebecca to see this. Or Cami or whatever. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Like I said, we've got the team together next week. We are absolutely right in terms of where we're at from a timing perspective. We've now just obviously got to work out the mullah, which the sales team needs to make lots more mullah so that we can do this. But yeah, all good. It looks amazing.
So
and I think as well, what we can do, Janine, is the recording of today's session, if we send it to the ops team so that they can also just see it in operation as well.
Absolutely.
And it mustn't just be about us telling them how it's going to work out. The demonstration that Darren has done will definitely give them goosebumps like it's done me too.
And Janine, you could tell your sales team, with P4P, we've just digitized the RPL process, because you will use the exact same summative assessment process for RPL. So now you can literally hit the market with every program you put on P4P for a digitized RPL experience, and you've got 3 months to finish your RPL, because our call centers are calling the learners, so they're getting support on the technology. The assessors only assess once or twice in RPL. There's no coaching involved, and you give yourself a pipeline of learners, because the learners who are found competent, wow, they get your certificates. Learners who are not competent give you a sales pitch to that learner, because you know accurately where their gaps lie, and you sell on. So you've now got digitized, and we've done a lot of RPL stuff. We've got Dr. Shirley Lloyd, who wrote the RPL legislation, Naveen from SACWA. They've endorsed the product for RPL. You know, we've got some really big hitters who love what we do because it's so governed. It's so governed that the RPL is just a piece of cake.
Yeah, and Janine, that's something we definitely could use. Is to put the RPLs on the platform. Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. Listen, I mean, I don't doubt the use and all of that.
Just got to make money.
Yes. We will beg next week, okay, Sean? We'll put it
on my bloody knees, I'm telling you.
So when you beg, you can say that P4P decreases administration by over 24%. So we decrease the time of administration by 24%.
Yeah.
And overseas with their EPO system, once because they first work, their clients have to do a cost reduction of 72% using EPOEs versus using email back. They have a 72% reduction. We haven't got there yet, so I can't promise that. But they're looking at 24 to 26% cost just on your administration.
That's amazing. No, I think what we need to do, Darren, is please send us that link. I'll definitely. I do believe we need to participate in that research.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, it will absolutely give us, and I mean, Sean, if we all do it together, I mean, I can try and help Lindsay, yourself, but we'll definitely participate in that research because it will be really interesting to see, to benchmark, you know, 100%. Ourselves against. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, thank you very, very much. That was very informative. Thank you for your time. I hope they finish whatever working they're doing behind you.
Sorry.
No, all good. If they're building, I hope it looks absolutely amazing, and there's a nice coffee bar and all of that, a nice bar and all of that included.
And then listen, next week when you after today's call or next week when you're in the meeting, you've got me on WhatsApp. Just if you have a question, ask me. You know, if you get me and they go, Darren, what was that? Just text me, ask me. For goodness sakes.
No, all good.
I don't expect you to remember what I've been doing for 8 years, 7 years. I mean, just, ask me.
And the blonde hair doesn't help either, but no, don't worry. All good. Okay. Thank you so much. Sims, thanks so much for joining, my babe. And then, we'll chat later. Have a great week, guys.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you.
Okay.
Cheers.
Bye.